Welcome back.
Welcome back, assorted megafauna.
To the Nick's archive.
Make a reel out of that one. Welcome back, megafauna. Do it.
Yeah, we're keeping that. Welcome back, mammals and assorted quadrupeds is what I was going to say, but megafauna is real good. To the Nick's archive, I am your game master, C.D. Corrigan. I am joined, as always, by my lovely wife, Maddie Hammond.
Hello, I'm playing Farah.
And our very dear friend, Marissa Montero.
The interrupter and voice of Skink.
The real and figurative chaos goblin of the group. Last time on the Nick's archive, our crew had been setting out across the Arctic tundra north of Osk, seeking some sort of ancient ruin in the Bulwark Mountains far to the north. After a day of traversing with their new companions, Orlo and Tula, the centaur siblings, one of whom appears to have some connections to the great old one who wants to eat the world, beyond the bounds of time and space. No big deal. Our party settled in for their second night, having crossed the open tundra and preparing for an ascent into the Rocky Mountains. But before they were able to bed down for the evening and sort of assess what they were going to do there, Skink spotted a pair of tracks around their camp that did not belong to any of them. Obviously, coming up with the most logical plan that they could, our heroes decided to fake a potty break and headed over to the tracks, only to be interrupted by a mysterious voice from the night that said, "Could have picked a more private spot." And that is where we pick up. Farah, you squat down to look at these tracks, and if you'd like to, in the split second, you can make a precision check to examine the tracks.
I will do that. Well,
you're pretty distracted in this moment. I think it's fair.
It's a 4.
Right. Farah rolling straight 4s, I think, for the entire last episode.
Yep, really struggling.
Struggling.
I will say Farah didn't actually pull her pants down. She would have been examining, so she wouldn't have done that knowing that there's possibly somebody out there. Do I have a reaction to, do I have an ability to have a reaction?
We are not in initiative, so if you have a response to hearing a voice just behind you, you are welcome to just respond accordingly.
I'm trying to decide. If she's that startled, I actually do think that she would cast Pinprick pretty she's just as a reactive.
Sure.
She's looking for she's expecting trouble, so
why don't you describe what Skink sees in this moment, watching you head over to the tracks?
Does she see the individual who spoke to me?
I don't think she does.
From the last episode, it sounded like it's just a voice to both of us.
Yeah, I think you definitely have both heard the voice.
Oh, Stinky. But Skink, I didn't think you followed me.
No, I didn't. I'm by the campfire.
Yeah, she's a little bit further back.
But you heard the voice too?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Skink would see Farah squat down to examine the footprints, and barely a split second of doing that, stand right back up, whip around, and she would. Can I describe? Do I get to decide what my blood mage magic looks like?
Absolutely.
Okay, so she would see this small burst of red light that, or maybe not light, it wouldn't be super illuminated, but a very clear magical burst. Just a small, almost needle-like projectile of sorts. Pinprick is a blood mage ability. It is a spell, and I can target myself or a willing creature, and it gains 1 round of bleeding. And I think in this case, sometimes she likes to make herself bleed. In this case, I think she would be targeting whoever she feels like she heard behind her. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if it hits anybody, but
Well, it's not a willing creature, so inherently that spell would fizzle.
Oh, no. Okay, she wouldn't have used that one then. I think she would then use it on herself. I still think she'd choose pinprick. I think she'd use it. This changes I'm sorry, I didn't read carefully. Viewers, listeners, I apologize. I think she would use it on herself, and I think she would use it to trigger blooded. No, I can't do both of those at the same time, can I? No, I can. Wait, they take 2 actions?
Maybe 2 different actions, yeah.
Okay. I think she would still do pinprick to start with, and on herself.
Okay.
So I have
So
one
Pharaoh
more bleeding.
whips around, and you see Skink. You see the familiar sight of this, like, it's not like an enormous burst of light. It's more like it kind of, if you ever see the liquid from like a glow stick on its own, where like it is luminescent, but it is not casting a ton of light unless it is super concentrated. You see this little flicker of this crimson energy, and then Farah, you kind of gain just the beginnings of that like blood haze that hangs around you as you gain a blood token. Farah whips around, starts calling up this blood magic. Skink, you have a moment. What do? You do not see what she is reacting to, but you did hear a voice.
I did hear a voice, and so I, in the full darkness, am going to become Phantasm just in case I need to cause some damage. And like, it's dark, so I know I'll definitely do something terrible if the moment calls for it, but I'm just gonna like be dark. Darker and more menacing.
Read Become Phantasm for me.
It says, you wrap yourself in shadows, becoming more powerful the darker your surroundings are, according to the table below. And I'll skip light because we are in darkness. It is night. When you deal damage to a target that is also in darkness, you deal an additional 1d4 eldritch damage. And it has a little extra part here. It says horror. When you deal eldritch damage with this ability against a target that is frightened, it would take the same amount of psychic damage.
Lovely. So Farah whips around, blood magic. Skink wraps yourself in this, like, it's not the same as your like aura of shadow, but you just start to like call upon the darkness around you to prepare yourself to potentially have to react to something. As Skink, you trigger that shadow magic. You shift into this state and you draw up that energy. You see, as you pull in and activate the mana for that spell, a figure appears, almost materializing from like the thin air of the night, standing equidistant between you two and looking side to side. This is the visage of an old man. Looks to be a Gaian, but not. Galio's a Gaian. He's a frost or a mountain Gaian. Looks to be cleaved much like from the frozen rock around you and into the shape of a rough-hewn man. This figure is got the quality of an old mountain, much more weathered, smoothed features and worn down, and you can see as he shifts his gaze between you, the center of his head is actually cleaved in twain. The whole, like, from his nose opening and eye sockets and everything where they would be is just completely cut through. So these two halves of a head are turning and operating and joined just at like the jaw.
This is awful.
And this man, who himself seems to be wrapped in the stuff of night and shadow, looks between you two. Settle down, everybody. Just dropping in to say hello.
Who are you?
I've had a lot of names. The locals up here, they've called me Ciro Windseer. It's not my first name, and it won't be my last.
Why are you here?
Well, it's always good to see who's come to the neighborhood, isn't it? I could ask you the same. You came to my mountain.
And then Skink remembers feeling something weird in the rock. And it's like, is this your rock?
Possession is not a thing that we quantify in the same way. I am of this rock, it is of me. This was not always the case. The rock has been here a very long time, as have I, but not nearly as many eons. But now I am of this rock, and it is of me. And you sense in the way that he is intoning this that he is not talking about the wall you are standing next to. He is talking about the mountain that it is part of.
Mm-hmm.
And this Skink is like, are you a ghost?
It is mighty funny for one who has cloaked herself in the stuff of night again and again to ask me in this time if I am dead. That is something you would be able to answer as well if I don't miss my mark, young miss. But no, I am a living man. Just an old one.
How would he know how much dead stuff I look at? Like, why would he think that? And is very still like not gonna drop Phantasm. Still like, why is this dude here? Why is this dude here? And then Skink asks, what do you want?
Once again, you are asking me questions that I had thought to ask of you. Come, will you sit by the fire for a moment? We can speak civilly, I think.
Are you alone?
Is a mountain alone? There are others of my kin here. There are many things upon my face and beneath my surface. You are here. I have not been alone in quite some time, but if you are asking if I brought others who mean you harm to this place, the answer, of course, is no.
Farah is letting Skink do all the talking at this point. She's very wary. She's gonna slowly, circumvent him and walk towards the fire.
You have the sense, as you kind of strafe around this guy, Farah, there is a darkness kind of gathered within the shattered skull that this man is speaking with. His eyes are just sort of gazed fixed ahead, but you have this uncanny sense that both of you, that he is staring directly at you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay. Well, we all know that prey have 360, or not 300, larger fields of view, so obviously he's not a predator.
Wow. Incredible bio.
Everyone calm down. He's got binocular vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
As you kind of, Farah, as you kind of strafe around to stand near Skink, there's a moment where you involuntarily, you have to blink at some point. When you do, he is gone. And then he calls out from behind you over by your fire once more and says, come, sit. We can discuss civilly. And Skink, you don't know when you lost sight of him, but he is behind you now by the fire.
Farah's head, whips to where he is now.
Yeah, I think Shadow Skink also just turns so fast. And
you behold him. He is sitting next to, the little kind of smolder pit that you guys had used to prepare meals and everything. There is a flame blazing there that appears to be made of this tar black fire flecked through with streaks of acid green and purples. Just he produces a flask and he goes, come.
Farah is gonna very slowly sit down, kind of not super close to him. I think Farah would try to position close next to Skink, sort of like...
Yeah, I think I want to say we're both across from him.
Yeah.
We're both like directly across.
Yeah.
And I have approached I guess still wrapped in shadow. I'm not pulling this down until until things progress. Because this guy makes me uncomfortable and I don't trust him.
Does her shadow encompass me if I'm right next to her?
With Phantasm, no, but she certainly could do Aura of Shadow to try and, like, shroud you if you...
But I wouldn't be able to see him through that, probably, right?
Probably not, no.
No, okay. Just curious. Okay.
Which, in point of fact, Farah, you're not fully sure... You've been having this conversation and discussing back and forth, and I think you realize, like, as the adrenaline is kind of, like, processing through, you did not see him until Skink perceived him, and then he was clear to you. Like, there's this very, like, dream sense of, like, I knew he was there the whole time, but I didn't know he was there kind of deal.
Yeah.
And, like, I think just at this moment, as you sit down, you kind of clock, like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Like,
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have cautiously approached, very distrustful.
And he's asked us why we're here.
But you know how, like, you're sitting when you want to get back up again? Where, like, you didn't lean back, you're sitting, and, like, all of your weight is still sort of, like, in your toes, and you're just, like, perched at the edge of the seat, where it's like, I might be getting up again pretty quick. Like,
yeah, I have technically sat.
I've technically sat, but I am in no way settled.
Yeah.
As you said, the fire is giving out more warmth than anything else you've experienced since you set out onto the tundra. But it's not like blistering hot. It's just like being close to this thing is like being in a comfortable room or a tap room further south somewhere.
What is Barry doing?
You want to look?
Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll say make a precision roll, and either one of you can do this.
Oh.
I think I'm not taking my eyes off this guy. I'm not looking at anything else.
It's a 2.
Oh, Farah. Every precision roll for 2 episodes.
Yeah, this is real bad. I think I need to pick a different dice.
Yeah. You kind of have this thought, and then you... I can't really tell from here. You're having trouble between Skink and this guy perceiving really the rest of your camp at all.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, between your, like, now incredibly dark and shadowy friend with, like maybe you just see, like, the tiniest glint of, like, you know, when light reflects on eyes, there's, like, a little bit that you can see, but a lot of it is just kind of misty and hard to pin down. Like, it's there and, like, not there at the same time.
I think Farah is gonna wait to see what Skink says, because he's asked us why we're here, right?
Sort of. He keeps just, like, mirroring my questions back at me.
Shall we start again? I had come down because it is not every day that 2 marked ones make their way to the base of my mountain.
Marked ones? Marked by who?
My dear mother and patron, the Mistress of Night, has taken note of you 2 upon this land, this place that is dear and sacred to her.
Okay, now can I do a knowledge check on Mistress of Night?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is this something that I would have heard of, or I have to roll for it too?
Oh, you gotta roll for it, definitely.
All right.
We're gonna peg this one at a 14. Still tough.
I got an 11.
What did you call it? What did you say it was? A knowledge?
Knowledge, going for 14.
Okay. Can I use my fate point?
Absolutely.
Let me mark it off.
What effect are you invoking?
Rolling a d8.
So you are spending a fate point to add 1d8 to a roll that you make. A check or attack you make.
Yes. Not quite. I got to 12.
12 and 11. Sorry, guys. He invokes it like it is a superior or a senior to him, but you do not recognize like any specific thing that he is referencing.
Okay, all right.
Her eyes have long been upon this land. This place is steeped in the stuff of her domain. I am...
What do her eyes look like?
He chuckles. Well played. He chuckles and he unscrews his flask and tosses a spray into the fire, the black fire before him. And there is a moment where the fire, all other color, disappears and it becomes the texture and consistency of onyx, flecked through with veins of glittering violet.
Whoa!
Before it.
Daddy! Damn!
Well played. That's how you turn a loss into a win.
Huzzah.
I can't roll, but I will get there.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna. So Farah says, I recognize those eyes. They've been in a dream of mine.
Is that how we were marked?
Perhaps.
When you were marked as many people are marked throughout their lives, you've had brushes with all kinds, I assume. For her to have taken interest in you, these others that come with you here have seen death and destruction before, but it did not leave its mark on them in the same way.
Ah.
You two are marked because it has become part of you, part of your life, part of your deeds and doings.
I see. I see. He called her the Mistress of the Night. What else did he call her?
His patron, his mother, Mistress of Night.
Are there any other names your mistress goes by?
He kind of laughs, just like, you are keen to taxonomize and identify, I see, and I respect that. It is...
I am a seeker of knowledge.
A seeker of knowledge. We are purveyors of wisdom up in these parts, not necessarily dispensers of fact. However, I do ken your meaning. I believe you are seeking after the name of Nyx, the Mother of Night.
Okay, now can I roll again?
Oh my god.
You would know the name Nyx as a patron god. So, in point of fact, Farah and Skink are well traveled. You guys, we've established this in your session 0 and your character backstories and everything. You guys have been the length and breadth of at least one continent, possibly more, and you've certainly interacted with people from all over the world. Nyx is a lesser cult. The continent you guys are on is called Concord's Reach. Nyx is a relatively lesser cult here, not due to a lack of perceived power or influence, but simply because her domain is not one that many people flock to worship towards. There are other gods for funerary rites and good fortune and protection and like other lesser elements of her kind of realm. Actually, the strongest following that she has here is amongst sailors, because as the Mistress of Night, she is deeply tied into navigation and stars. But her other most well-known aspects, and the reason why people don't frequent her worship in this region, is due to the fact that she is also the god of death.
Farah's gonna like very clearly, it's seen on her face that she recognizes what that is, who Nyx is, and it like clicks for her. She's like, oh, yeah, I guess it would make sense that we've drawn the attention of Nyx.
I think as a Shadow Mage and Necromancer, Skink has definitely heard of this
100%.
God.
Skink, I will actually say, as part of just your class choices, Nyx is one name of this entity. There are others. A lot of gods are known by like different faces and names in different parts of the world, different creeds and cultures and whatnot. Nyx is one name of this entity. You have heard inklings of others. Some other religions and cultures assign different, slightly like varying domains to different gods. So in some places, she's also seen as like a gatekeeper or a judge, as well as, but here, most prevalently, it is just the domain of death and night.
Yeah. Can we do a quick lore defining moment? Since we're at this juncture, what version Skink has used, like as a little goblin who has been learning the art of necromancy and the art of shadow magery? Like, there must be one that Skink knows best.
Oh, let's see. Well, so you tell me, is Skink from Concord's Reach or is Skink from further afield? Continent-wise.
Continent-wise. Wait a minute. Have we looked at a map like this? No. I mean, like, this is, no, like, Skink is from absolutely nowhere near Osk. No way. Like, way the hell fuck, like, not even near Beacon.
So further afield than that, I'm just kind of going like on a radius basis, right? Just ballparking. You would certainly be familiar with this interpretation of Nyx and her domains, but getting further afield, you get more into like she's not just the domain of night. She is the keeper of the gate between life and death. Mm-hmm. So there's an aspect to necromancy that very much plays with that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna borrow this body. I can't mess with the soul, because if I mess with the soul, Nyx is going to get real punchy about that. So necromancy draws very strict lines of like, the soul is for the Night Mother, the body is just returned to the earth. But in this time, we can harvest the essence of the body and use it for an aspect or for an action here and there.
Right. So, because I'm assuming that in like some of my spells and in like in the magic that I operate on, I know that there is a power over there, but maybe I just don't call her Nyx. So. Yeah.
It may not even be that you have like a phonetic other name for her at this time.
Nyx is the name that I use, and it was I don't know.
Either of those things could be true, but I think what you do recognize kind of intuitively is that in some of the symbols that you have like tattooed on your body and recorded in your scrolls and whatever, there are glyphs that are phonetically linked, not to her name, but to the concept of this gatekeeper that stands and divides the soul from the body at time of death.
Okay. All right.
Another aspect actually that you might know her as in certain places is just the Reaper.
The Reaper, yeah. That seems like a goblin way of referring.
That seems like a very goblin.
Yeah.
Now I'm just imagining this little goblin Grim Reaper.
Totally. The Reaper. And, okay, so that was a lot of talking, but in the actual conversation, we just got a name. And so I think in that instance, Skink is going to draw a link between Nyx, this Mistress of Night, and the Reaper. And, you know, like little neurons firing, like, okay, I think these must be connected. And that's who this guy is representing right now.
So two marked by my mother and mistress come to the base of my mountain. Obviously, I have to come take a peek. As I mentioned, these others here are not... They have seen death, they have witnessed her works, they are not marked in that same way. You are both purveyors and experiencers. You are performers. That is rarer. It is a rarer thing. I come not with threats or ultimatums. I come not with an agenda. I seek only to know what has brought you here.
I think at this, Skink will drop Phantasm. And after it seems like this creature knows something about like the depth of who she is. So she drops Phantasm and then sits there as a little goblin and says, "Okay then, we've started over."
Farah is going to cast Clot. Is that all right?
Yeah, totally.
So she's just I lose bleeding, right?
Yeah. And shall we say that blood token kind of dissipates?
Yeah.
He tips his
I
flask.
think Farah at this point is pretty sure that he could find out what we're here for, or may already know. Like, he's mysterious enough that she's like, I don't know that it's worth lying. Or like saying that we're on a flake expedition.
Skink looks up and says, "You will understand my apprehension at your appearance. But now that we're being civil, may I introduce myself as Skink, Goblin, Necromancer. And I am here with my friend, Farah. And we are in search of the Calder Infinia. Were you at the battle where this... I was like, were you at the battle where the wall fell?"
Wow. Okay. You went straight past finding the divining pool to just like, Hail Mary, we're going for it. Oh, I love it. Oh.
I was like, it's a shadow. It came out of the mountain. It knows who I am. I'm just gonna tell him.
Yeah, real talk. What happens when the GM drops a primordial being in for a conversation, and the players are just like, "Fuck the quest we're on. We're gonna talk about the big arc." Okay, all right, I got this.
Whoa.
He looks at you and you register his. So what you're realizing is his upper jaw is where the split stops, right? Like from the nose up, gone. All of that up here, the two halves are frozen. Like they do not animate, they are statue. But his smile, he kind of turns to you and just goes, "All right. You've asked a series of questions there, and I respect that, and I appreciate the honesty. Here." And he kind of gestures up towards the mountain beyond the wall that your camp is sheltered by. But you see, as he gestures up, it's almost as if like the night sky swirls and you are able to like translucently see through this wall towards the peak of the mountain. And like the cloud cover clears and the snow sort of like fades away just in this vision that you are perceiving right now. And you see that at the top of the mountain, the peak where it would come together is in fact split. And he goes, "I've been here for a very long time. I have seen many battles on these lands, and I believe I know the one that you speak of. It was one of the first of the war, in fact, that was fought here, if we speak of the same time. I know something of the visions that you saw when the mother looked upon you. I saw that the Calder Infinia did not fall in that battle. That was the first clash of a great war that waged for many years. The Calder Infinia fell far, far north of here, beyond my sight. What is it you wish to know about this lost thing of great portent and power?"
Skink is gonna look over at Farah and be like, "We're doing this right. He knows everything."
Yeah, Farah nods. Like, she's like, yeah, obviously.
and Skink is gonna say, "We wish to know where it was buried."
He kind of goes, "It's more complicated an answer than you might think. I can tell you The broken field is far north of here, and all that walk upon it freeze and die before they reach the place you would need to find. That was the last I saw of that accursed thing. It is not of here. It is older than here. It is older than all. It fell into the hands of wicked souls who sought to bend and break this world and remold it in their image and make themselves as unto a god. And that is why, as I watched, the whole world went to war. Young Miss Goblin, you reached out earlier as you came upon my mountain. And I believe you sensed something deep beneath, did you not?
I did.
Would you like to see it?
I would.
He flicks his flask into the fire once more, and the black, burning, veined flame engulfs, swells out like a bonfire and engulfs all of you, and you drop. You feel this great sensation of falling. And then it stops, and you find yourself among stars, among twilight. And then you look down and you see beneath you is actually the split-faced mountain. Far, far below. It's like you're many thousands of feet up in the air, but you still feel as if you are sitting around the campfire, like your bodies do not feel like you have moved, aside from that sensation of vertigo. He goes, "What you felt was my mother's domain, or what parts of it have touched this land," and he sort of waves his hand across the image. And you have a sense, Skink, I think this is most prominent for you, just based on your character and your vision. The land below you explodes in points of light. It looks like you are looking into like the Milky Way scattered across the plains and Arctic tundra below. And all these twinkling lights like stars, you are drawn both like in your perception and your magical like third eye towards a particular one. It just resonates with you, and as you kind of focus your gaze upon it, you realize that as it sort of grows and encompasses your vision for this fleeting moment, there's this touch of familiarity of a knight who rode a bee into a fight, who fell here. And then that sort of ember of familiarity and recognition flickers out, and you expand your gaze back out to look upon this field of stars that coats this plain from south of Osk to north of the mountains. And then as the vision fades out and looks up, you see beyond the bulwark into lands barely traveled by mortals these days, far to the north of the bulwark mountains, this plain of tundra and ice and snow and rock. More stars. Dense pockets in some places, millions of them it seems, and then some scattered out far, far out. Some blaze bright like nova, some barely flicker like you can only see them out of the periphery of your vision. And then the fire fades back and you are sitting around it once more. You are attuned to certain things, you are marked. And when you reached out to sense what was here, you found death. Much of it has touched these lands. More so than most other places.
Is our expedition party doomed?
He just laughs. That's not for me to say. That is more for you to do or do not. I, for what it is worth, do not see you undertaking anything that I think must lead to your doom. Certainly harm can befall you here, and I have not the power nor will to stop that. Nor should I. But no, I do not think you have been marked for damnation. It is more that you drew a passing glance from eyes that are tuned to see what you delve deep within.
I look over at Farah to see if there's anything that she wants to ask while Skink is taking in all of this.
So Farah has, at this point, she's like, okay, he knows a lot. It's mostly related to Nyx's domains, but she is curious. So she says, I know this might not be within your mother's purview, but the flakes that are here, or what people call flakes, can you tell us what they are?
Calder Infinia is not of this place. It is older. When it came through, it brought matter with it. There was a cleaving of planes, a collision of worlds, and between all worlds does flow the ether. Ether, normally as it comes into the world, is annihilated. It gives itself to fire and fury and then fades back from whence it came, but in the presence of that godforsaken moat of deepest cold and stillest night, some was frozen. And in the great war, the great conflicts, and the violence that ensued, there was scattered across my mountain and these lands. That, I believe, is what the kids these days refer to as flakes.
So that just confirms what Farah had, ascertained from her inspection. It was like a thing that she thought might be, based on what they know at this point. So just confirm that. Thank you for answering that question. I had suspected as much, but
Skink feels like they're getting a lot out of this, and then wants to ask, Zero, you have been so helpful so far. Is there anything that we can give you in return? Does your mother wish to be paid tribute in any particular way on these parts?
He kind of chuckles. He goes, there are gods who want for tribute and adoration. Death is not one of them. You will all come to it in the end, as will I, someday. As for my wants and desires, it tickles me that you would wish to do a favor to a thing, to a land. Perhaps there is something, a boon, in which we'll see what happens, won't we? There is a place towards the peak of my mountain, just below the split face. He kind of gestures to his own jawline. It is a pit of darkness and damnation that was once sought as a place of enlightenment and prophecy. A creature has festered there that I do not care for. I am comfortable with death and destruction as much as anything, but some purveyors are simply uncouth, are they not? It does me no harm to leave it there, but I would take it as a kindness that I did not need to perceive it any longer. Send it to meet my mother. She will enjoy that.
Skink cocks their head a little bit and says, the divining pool?
It has been called that, sure. That is certainly what they sought to build there. As with many things, it is older, but could be harnessed to such events, such could be harnessed to such effect, is what I was trying to say. And then the DM just lost his mind for a moment.
We can try our best to rid your mountain of this pit of darkness and damnation. But one last question, if you know the answer to it. We are seeking a scroll.
Are you perhaps describing the perpetual scroll that those poor lost souls sought to create within that place? It's there, still. It has some musings that may be of worth to she of the books and tomes.
I think Farrah's going to clock that. I don't think she's going to say anything. But she notices who he just referenced.
Yeah. It does, I'm afraid, descend into some tracks of madness after a time as things unfolded in that place. It was not pleasant for those who went through it, but supposedly within the lines of madness, even enlightenment there may be gleaned.
Noted.
Skink is suddenly wondering if their entire mission needs to be, like, rethought to destroy the things that they're after. Like, if the Cauldron Finia was hidden on purpose and it should never be unburied, do we need to go find whatever it is we're looking for and then destroy it to make sure no one ever accesses it? Like, this is literally what Skink is imagining now. And
I think Farrah's on a similar page. She's thinking now that I think they had wanted to find the Cauldron Finia originally, but is thinking because everybody who seeks it freezes and dies. He just Ciro just told us that. So I don't think she's thinking we need to find it and destroy it. I think she's thinking, oh no, this is something that is being kept hidden for a reason and we do not need to uncover it.
Yeah.
And she's actually second guessing the scroll now. Like, she'll complete the mission for Scythe, but originally I think she had wanted to read it. I think she's still willing to take a glance, but now she has a better understanding of that it might not be worth it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Skink is gonna ask, do you have any advice for us as we trek through these parts?
Advice is tied to goals. What is it you wish to accomplish here? And then I can give you direction towards what might bring that about. But simple advice, I believe, for all living things is not to die, but I have crossed that Rubicon and I do not fear it any longer, so I cannot say that I empathize.
I guess our goal is to retrieve the scroll.
Well, it seems we are aligned in wants on this evening. What a great and fortuitous circumstance. I do wonder if that was in the mother's wishes, wants, and machinations as she brought my attention to you as you brought it on yourself. Entering the lair directly will be difficult. It has collapsed many ages ago, and you would have to cleave through several feet of rock and ice in order to even find the trail to the door. However, if you are so inclined, he kind of does the thing where he gestures and a part of the mountain becomes visible to your perception, even though you can't directly see it. He goes, on the eastern face of that ridgeline over there, you will find a long frozen underground stream. There should be enough passage through there. I do not know if your companions will be able to follow you, but you two with your smaller stature, should have no trouble scrambling up that sheet of ice. It will lead you to the amphitheater, the atrium, rather, of the divining pool. It is, in fact, where the water from the pool does flow, or did.
Skank's last question is going to be, this creature at the divining pool, which I promise to this creature at the divining pool, which I promise you to dispatch, does it have any weaknesses?
Admiring the irony of the situation between, well, who sits around this blackened fire right now, it does not much care for light.
Mm-hmm. Good to know.
Good to know.
Normally something that would make me appreciate a fellow creature of the night and darkness, but that there are things that are comfortable in the shadow because it is a natural state. It must exist for there to be light and warmth and beacons. There must be darkness and shadow and night. But there are some things that seek to cloak themselves within it to hide their wickedness and their stain. This is of the latter kind.
Is this something that we would need our companions to help us fight? Or is it something we can dispatch on our own as a two-person team?
A strong arm in a battle will always treat you well. I would keep that in mind. There may be other ways to get them within before you face this thing, or to draw it out, perhaps. But I have faith in your abilities if you wish to fight it on your own. It may require more than simple bloodlust.
Noted. And I have myself one last question. I don't know about Skink, but just to clarify, out of respect, you are comfortable with us traversing your mountain.
He just laughs. He goes, "You will do no more harm to me than the wind and snow do every day."
Zero, I appreciate your friendliness and your kinship. Would it be possible to call on you again in the future?
You may call, I may not answer.
Fair.
We'll see. We will see. I bid you good evening and good morn, my friends. It has been so stimulating to sit and talk with those of you who have walked a similar path, though it be far in my past. Well, whether you rid me of this menace, or if your bones are added to those of the many graves upon my slopes and sides, sleep well.
Thank you.
And then, is Pip gonna do anything?
You look down to see Pip has been sleeping perfectly still in his burrito for this entire time. And as you have this moment of looking down and turning your perception there, you look up. The fire is gone. Zero is similarly gone. Farah is crouched over the footsteps. And you are hanging back, and you have both reacted to a voice.
Oh.
So I'm gonna look at Skink and be like, so that happened to you too, right? Like that wasn't a dream. What just happened?
It happened.
It happened. Okay. All right.
He was there.
Okay, so maybe not physically, but he was there in our minds.
And then I look back to see if the footprints are still there.
Yeah. Good call.
They are.
Okay.
All right. Now can I do a perception check again and see if I recognize anything in them?
Sure, absolutely.
Wow, it's just perception is not my thing today. It's a 3.
I actually feel like I want to protect our secret meeting with this mountain spirit, and Skink is going to start to muddle up the footprints so that no one asks questions later. Like, I want this. I don't know if what would we say to the centaurs? What would we say?
That's true. Farrah's gonna totally follow along. She's really thinking these are like.
I just start like running around in the prints and intentionally like kicking around to make it look like I went for a walk, or I did something, whatever. I want to obscure the footprints.
As you do, you start obscuring the footprints. You find that the trail only goes about 20 yards, and then it's like whatever it was just gets lighter and lighter until it is no longer touching the snow.
Mm-hmm.
As you obscure all of this and you finish kind of like muddling up the whole area, you hear just faint, like subsonically, like in your ear, just a small chuckle.
Okay.
So, ball's in your court. Do you two go to bed after your shared dream state situation?
I think we're.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going to stay outside anymore. That's for sure.
Farrah, you now do hear Barry.
Okay. Farrah is gonna be like, well, I think if we're gonna have to fight whatever's in this pit of darkness and damnation, as he described, we should probably get a good night's sleep. So I'm gonna curl up with Barry like I was before and go to sleep.
And
or try to.
I look at Farrah and I go, I'm serious about taking it out, whatever it was. If they didn't like it, I don't like it either.
I mean, I agree. At this point, Farrah very much so trusts Zero. Does not have any kind of like, and knowing that his patron is Nyx has a better sense of like, okay, I think with Farrah's background, she would not feel like a lot of people shy away from Nyx. I don't think. Farrah is like, she's not as like put off by Nyx. It's not. I don't feel like Sarah was as off-putting once he disclosed all of that. And he was certainly honest, and he was certainly helpful as far as she can tell. So she is actually more focused on that now, more driven by that mission than the mission to retrieve the scroll. He made her very much so second guess the pursuit of the scroll. So I think Farrah and you, GM, can tell me if this would be true. Farrah senses that Zero is older than Zive. Is that true?
Ooh,
should I roll for that?
Yeah, roll a... We're going to call that cleverness.
Why now? I got a 12. And I rolled, that's with my cleverness, it's a 15. And I'm going to take that fate point.
Yeah, Zero is significantly older than I think anyone you've heard of. And I think on a 12, we're going to honor that. Several of the things he mentioned, like, not only, like, whatever entity or essence or consciousness he is as a collective is older. But okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more, but I also want you to go ahead and make a knowledge check for me.
Okay. That's going to be a 14.
Okay. Some aspect of what Zero is as old as the mountain. It is geologically ancient. I think you, as you kind of are replaying all of this in your head, are getting the sense of like, okay, that is true, but also that is a topographical feature. Like, that is a thing of the world and stone and rock. It is not a person you can interact with. So some part of him is that, and some part of him alluded to being effectively a mortal who had a life and a death. And I think on those 2 checks, the terms that are not definitive, but that are circulating in your mind are, there are furies, which are sort of like primordial spirits of a place, of which Gaians are closer, like in the way that like fiendlings are closer to infernals and firmalites are closer to celestials, and Gaians are closer to furies compared to other humanoid and mortal races. And the other word that kind of like just is summoned up to your mind that like you don't have all the answers for yet, but like feels like something might be in this ballpark is a genius loci, a personification of a place.
Got it. Okay. So with that sense and like what that might mean for his understanding of stuff, she actually, I think, trusts his assessment of the scroll and the area more than she trusts what Sive has told them. She recognizes that Sive like is in pursuit of the scroll, but may not actually understand all that it has. I think she's still willing to like pursue it and get it for her. But at this point, Farah and Skink, we've been more mischievous. We kind of wanted to see it ourselves. I think she's a little less interested in that now. Skink, I don't know how you're feeling.
Skink, now Skink is feeling like almost as blessed or as lucky as a little necromancer shadow mage can get. Like I have absolutely played with death and made a profession out of it and made lots of use of it. But in that line, I have always respected its limitations. And like there are things that there are lines you cannot cross when working in this particular realm. And getting to speak with almost like a voice of death, or like, you know, a representative of the mistress of night, that doesn't happen to just the average goblin. That doesn't happen to just anyone. And it didn't even happen to our whole party. It only happened to us. It didn't talk to Tula and Orlo. So Skink now has this like rarefied sense of divine purpose or like and like, you know, anything that spirit voiced is like iron truth for as far as Skink is concerned. And if the Calder and Phineas should never be disturbed, then it should not. And if anyone who goes searching for it dies, we should not. And if the scroll leads to leading, if having the scroll would lead Sive to looking for it, the scroll must be destroyed. Like I think Skink is a little confused about how things work and like who's doing what and for what reason. And so if anything is going to be like offensive to the Reaper and like the person on the other side of these rules, Skink's like, we gotta stop that. We can't do that. Like, we're gonna go and now I'm absolutely gonna kill this creature. I don't even know what I want with the scroll anymore. I don't even know. I think Skink is like almost addled. You know, like the you were rattled before earlier, yeah. Like in a way. I think like there's something in Skink that's like, when I go to sleep tonight, I might wake up with totally different priorities. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Too funny.
That's worse. And I guess that's it. And it's kind of, Skink feels like something huge and tremendous and momentous has happened, and is a little surprised that Farah just wants to go to sleep. And it is gonna, I think, so you are like off with the Bareth, and Skink is alone in the tent now with Pip. I think Skink's just gonna look at Pip and go like, Pip, what do you think? Pip, what was that about?
Mother? That horse lady?
Pip, do you remember anything? Pip, did you see Zero?
Dinner? Oh, mother.
And Skink just shakes their head and is like, I don't know, Pip. I don't know what we're doing out here anymore. and just like tucks into bed and hopes and is like praying for another nightmare vision.
Okay, so you guys are tucking down into bed. Does Skink or Farah, but because Skink just said it, do you do anything to try and make that happen? That's a very open-ended DM question.
Dang.
I think I'm gonna put the flake under my pillow.
I don't know that Farah wants another dream.
Farah's dream was way worse than mine.
The memory was a bit traumatic. So, but I think she's thinking about Nyx now. She had that experience at the temple where she was healed a little bit. So in her experience with magic, she, I think, believes in divinity of some sort. I don't think she thinks it's always as cut and dry as some people. I think she would want more information. I think given that what she now understands to be a fury, most likely, talked about something as a pit of darkness and damnation, she is concerned about going up against that. And if Zero is this like not patron, but follower of Nyx, and he alluded that Nyx is not fond of this either, I think she would like more information about that. So I think before she goes to sleep, she'd say, like, almost like a prayer, sort of like, to Nyx, if you want this creature or essence gone, can you give me in my dreams more information about it, including how to get rid of it?
Okay, so Farah is doing that as she beds down. Skink? Same question. Are you doing anything particular before bed?
Apart from the flake.
I put the flake under my pillow. Yeah.
All right. Two things. Farah, go ahead and make a willpower check for me.
No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. That's a 6.
It's a 6. Okay. I'm going to offer both of you a bit of a devil's bargain tonight.
Oh no.
If you burn your fate point, I'll let you add a d20 to it.
I don't have any fate points, so it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, you're
to
getting
me.
something else. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I might want my fate point going up against the thing.
D20 can still roll a 1.
Still roll a 1. It can still roll a lot of low numbers. But you know what? Farah's gonna do it. That's a 14 on the d20.
So 20 total?
Yes.
So that includes your willpower and everything? Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Skink. You have beseeched for guidance? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. How much is it worth to you? Well, let me put it this way. Is Skink willing to sacrifice to have that connection, or is this just only if it's being offered?
Yeah, I think I think Skink is already wowed that they got as much advice as they did. And I don't know. I don't know what she would think to do.
I'm just asking if, without knowing what a price tag might be.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to know with death.
You could roll for it. See what Skink would decide.
Oh yeah, maybe Skink has some divination tools on hand. Like, I wonder if Skink has ever like done bone readings. You know,
Sure.
like things like that.
Scapula readings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know what Skink's gonna do? Skink's gonna crack a wishbone and see. I think Skink knows that the left hand is for dreams, and that the right hand is for tools. And so Skink is gonna pull out a wishbone and crack it to see which side got the bigger half. So I guess I'll roll.
Give yourself evens odds.
Yeah, exactly. If it's odds, it's the left hand, and if it's evens, it's the right hand.
Okay.
It's even.
Okay. So what does that mean to Skink? Yeah.
That means no dreams.
No dreams.
To Skink, that means focus on what has been given to you in the knowledgeable realm, and focus on that.
So Skink has placed the flake under her pillow and is curious to see if a dream might happen, but that's as far as that's going, and Farah is beseeching Nyx directly through prayer to ask, did Farah have a specific prayer she was offering, or was it just a general for guidance?
It was specifically for information on how to defeat the thing, because she picked up on the fact that not only did Ciro not like it, but that Nyx may not like it either.
Got it. Okay. Skink, you lay down. You toss and turn a little bit, have a hard time getting to sleep, to the point where I think Pip finds his way out of your bundle and drags his insulated scarf over to a different corner of the tent and like makes a little nest of
resentfully.
Mother has restless leg syndrome. And just sort of tucks himself in over there with his little feather like But Skink, you eventually find your way into a fitful but uneventful night's slumber. Farah.
Mm-hmm.
Have that same sense of vertigo you experienced when talking to Ciro. And this brief flash of the split peak, and then your body, your mind, your perception is being drawn down through the rock, through the earth, through the ice below it. There's a great chamber, and it is pitch dark. It is shadowed to the point of not only your dark vision would give you some illumination, but this is like a dream darkness, a lack of perception. You cannot see through it. You cannot make much details. You have more of an intuitive sense of where you are than any visual input that is making its way into your mind. You sense a presence down there, sinister and wicked and scuttling, and an overwhelming certainty that to face it directly is death.
Oh.
Your mind is drawn to the center of this chamber, in which there is a great, placid, dark pool carved into the stone and the bedrock of the mountain. From within that pool, a series of pillars rise up to meet the roof, again, carved directly out of the stuff of the mountain itself. This chamber was expanded at some point. All surfaces within here are carved intricately with runes and glyphs and etchings of magical workings and divination. The central pillar of this room is fractured. Ice has grown within it and split the stone from itself, replacing it with just the frozen water. And your mind is drawn from that weakness in this structure to the domed ceiling above, and the sun, which is only so briefly present in these twilight days on the tundra. And you fade into sleep. And I think, actually, we've got a few more minutes if there's anything you guys want to run. Otherwise, we could call that a good stopping point.
I think that's a good stopping
I
point.
think that's a good stopping point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is all for this episode of the Nyx Archive. As always, I have been your Game Master CD Corrigan. I am joined by the lovely Mrs. Maddie Hammett.
Playing Farah. Toodaloo, everyone.
And Marissa Montero.
Going off into a fitful sleep. Escape.
Wherever you are in space and time, there it is. Good night. I say good night again. Damn it.